An ingenious interlude. Have a look at this glass tank behind you and tell me how many balls there are in there.
1, 2, 3.
Well done, Alan.
4.
So far, so good.
Yeah. 5. Yeah. 5.
The worst episode of the National Lottery.
So how many are in there, would you say? 5.
5.
5. Well, it looked like 5, didn't it? Yeah. You might be rather surprised to know that there are actually over 1,000 glass balls in there. And we can show you perhaps a better view of how many there are. What's that? Look. They're all invisible. And in fact, we have an example of precisely these kinds of... There they are.
Yeah, they're gooey.
They're really weird. They're called hydrogel beads.
But I can't see them.
You can see them, yes, and we deliberately allowed them to be visible. But in large glass tanks, they wouldn't be visible.
If you push one underwater, it goes invisible.
Exactly, and they have the same refractive index as water, which, as you know,
Which means light can pass through at the same angle.
So they appear to be invisible in water.
We can't see it!
Yeah.
Quick, a hairdryer.
It's gone down the set.
Is there a...
Suddenly going to start floating away.
Is there a use for them?
Yeah, there we are. I've got a glass of water there.
Are they worth £500 each?
Are they edible?
I wouldn't want to take responsibility, but I don't think they'll do you any harm.
Try one.
What are they... What are they used for?
Well, they have a commercial use, actually.
Oh, I broke it.
Oh, no. Is it burst?
Yeah, it burst.
No, it's sort of gone into pieces, actually.
It's like... Oh, yes, it's rather strange little material. Can you guess their commercial use?
Packing things.
Oh. No, flower arranging is one.
Is it for packing goldfish when you get them through
Why aren't they making battleships out of this stuff?
Isn't it... Well, who knows? All kinds of new
Submarines.
uses
Make
may
a
be
submarine
found.
out of it.
I have to say, this feels gorgeous.
It's quite good, isn't it? Oh, it's quite a good feel.
Addictive, isn't it?
It's really... There's yeah, there's something quite gorgeous about that. Mm.
Yeah.
It's just...
Might have a play around with that later.
Yep, he might. Another use is the manufacture of...
Disgusting.
Another use...
Jack's going to put his willy in it.
Oh, dear.
Oh, I've already put it in, that one.
It's weird, because when you put it in, you couldn't see it.
Yeah. It has the same refractive index.
We told me to think of a comeback.
Yeah, the other use, apart from flower arranging, is the manufacture of contact lenses.
It'd really freak people out if you put them in your eyes, wouldn't you? You big,
well,
big
obviously, yes, not necessarily in the round.
Marty Feldman's contact lenses.
Any of these coming up in any of this?
Some domestic appliances that really nobody wants. In a vicarage, a tie rack. That is good. I can't take that away from you.
I'm appealing, sir. There's an act of great pedantry here, but there's not technically an appliance.
Oh. Unless it's electronic tie.
An auto steam tie rack. There are electric tie racks. Yeah, there are tie racks that go zzz, like
really?
That. Yeah, there are.
Such a thing exists?
Electric ones, I promise you.
Wow.
And that actually takes us to what the right answer is. When you said steam... Yeah.
Those Corby trouser presses that you have in hotel rooms.
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone use or heard of anyone using.
Brilliant.
Do you mean others don't?
You've
Am I
used
the only
one?
one? I used them.
I use them.
But not necessarily for trousers. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Whoa!
Anyway, there's a whole load of appliances that were made in the 1920s and 30s when a lot of British people were starting to get a little bit more prosperous just before the crash. And they thought about going on the electric, as it used to be said. We're going on the electric. And what would be the killer app that would put them on the electric, the thing they wanted to have most?
Electric light.
That would be one.
Plug-in radio.
The wireless set. Yeah. And who were the other main suppliers other than electricity that had already been there? Gas. They thought, well, what we'll do is provide gas-powered radios to stop people from going on the electric. And there's an example of one. And they put them out and they said, oh, not only will you get the BBC, but you will warm the room slightly. Increase
The glow of your contentment.
Increase the chances of your house exploding. And not only did they produce wirelesses, they produced trouser presses, oddly enough, washing machines, washing up machines, everything that you can think of that is a household appliance, a white good, as we would now say.
There were gas-powered fridges, weren't there?
Yes, there were indeed. Very much so. But they just didn't catch on because electricity was just more reliable. And it's not that the gas actually powered the radio so much as that the gas created the current that powered the radio. So it was still electric, it's just you use your existing gas main.
What is 3 times more dangerous than war?
3 wars.
Is it doing a Yui on the A40?
This is according to the United Nations.
It's probably something really inane, like cycling, trampolining.
It's work. More likely to die at work than you are at war.
Does that include soldiers?
What if you work in a shoe shop near a war?
I can always guarantee you will find some cunning way to make me not know anything. And I don't know what the statistics are for people who work in shoe shops near wars.
How many times have they actually had a war in a shopping centre? It's very rare that first world countries get invaded, but if they did, you could have a shootout in a multiplex, couldn't you?
If you
Wagamama.
lived in South London, you'd find a lot of wars in shopping centres.
I've been arrested in a shopping centre.
Have you? Tell us why.
For an act of war?
I knocked a security guard's hat off.
Recently.
A very Bertie Wooster thing to do.
Yeah. I didn't even do it on purpose, I was taking my jumper off. I was absolutely arsehole as well. And you're very much hearing my side of the story. I called it actually rather a story of defence.
I read a thing once that said 1/3 of all accidents at work go unreported. How do they know?
Lumberjacks have the most dangerous job in America, it appears. 122 deaths per 100,000 employees.
So that song's entirely wrong, is it?
Yes. Exactly.
How could you die doing that? Just trees falling on you?
You're saying trees falling on you like that's a bit of a pansy way to go. That's a legitimate way to die.
It's just the only real sort of peril, isn't it?
There's a lot of chainsaws.
But also, you're not very well protected in panties and a bra, are you?
And also, if you're a lumberjack, you're supposed to be good at it. Yeah. You're not supposed to chop down trees and go, oh, it's the other side, isn't it?
Well, now, yes. According to the United Nations, more than 2 million people die from work-related accidents, as opposed to 650,000 people a year who die in war. What was the most disastrous haircut ever? Yes. Some examples for you there.
I've got 2 answers. I'm going to get the screen going up there. One is my last haircut. No, or Samson's haircut. Samson's haircut done...
Yeah, Samson's haircut's a very good answer, actually.
That's me.
Yeah.
Yes! You've just noticed.
Well, you must remember posing for these, or has this been...
I remember the one in the middle. The other 2, I have no memory.
I know for a fact that in 1928, the New England Tool and Die Manufacturing Company was looking for a new screw that wouldn't slip out of the notch. Yeah. And a man named Phillips worked for him, who had one of the most disastrous haircuts ever. It was parted in 4...
That would be an example of a disastrous haircut that went good. This one, well, I mean, of course, there are many candidates, and Samson is one, but do you know anything about Louis VII of France? There he is on the left. We're talking about the 13th century. His queen became queen of a more famous king to us, being British.
Aquitaine.
She was Eleanor of Aquitaine, absolutely
long
right.
hair, yes.
The point is, Louis VII was very religious, and the monks got to him, and he cut that hair off. He looks rather good there, but apparently he cut all his hair off, and she was furious at it.
Oh, right.
So cross that eventually she divorced him. I mean, there are other things too, probably, but the hair is mentioned by historians as one of the things...
He also cut his cock off.
Maybe, I don't know, his mother may have sold her...
Has your mother sold a mangle?
Maybe that had happened, yeah.
I divorce you.
But the consequences of the divorce were enormous, because she then went over, she was incredibly rich, she took her kingdoms with her, married Henry II, and it began the 100 Years' War.
Yeah.
So essentially it was the haircut that began a 100 Years' War.
Yeah, but that's just something you say in polite company. Like when you telling people you're breaking up with your partner, you go, yeah, well, I ain't like what he did with his hair, so I left. You can't really say about the king, he keep farting in bed. I just don't like his haircut.
Yeah, you're right. What is interesting about this poor king is he definitely wouldn't have had sexual relations with Eleanor's mother because he was very abstinent indeed, and he became ill, and the courtiers suggested it was because he hadn't had sex. Yeah. And so he consented to have the Queen sent for, and they said, no, she's too far away. If you don't have sex immediately, you will die. But genuinely being told that he had to have sex or he would die, he actually said he would rather die chaste than live an adulterer.
See, that leads you to believe that he had a bad sexual experience as a child.
Yes.
Yes. And just, you know, because, you know, most men wouldn't rather, like, face death than have sex. So something happened when he was a kid, maybe a teenager, maybe his wee-wee got caught in the zipper, or he mangled, or...
Yes, the mangle.
Or he said, I'm not ready for this yet, maybe just let me lick your elbow. And the woman just said, do what you do best. And...
Very good. The Simpsons make a reference to the 100 Years' War.
Oh, do they?
Do you know what they call it? Operation Speedy Resolution. Anyway, so, we've all had bad hair days, but the one which helped start the 100 Years' War...
Tell me all about the 12 Frenchmen and the 12 Mosquitoes. Dara O'Brien.
Once upon a time, there were 12 Frenchmen called Happy, Sleepy, Arrogant, Furieux, des choses comme ça, bof, and Zutelor. That's 6. Fenêtre, Boulangerie,
Le Table.
Le Table, of course, and Jambon et Fromage, the twins. And they used to travel around with mosquitoes, solving adventures.
And what were the mosquitoes called?
Fuzzy, stingy.
It was a very, very low-rent 1950s French detective season that involved, at some point, the extraction of a tiny amount of blood from one of the suspects.
Do you know what else a mosquito can be other than a...
It was a World War II plane made out of wood.
Made out of wood, exactly, made out of balsa wood and plywood. What was their great raid?
Tuck shop.
I don't know, was it made into a film?
It was. There were 12 members of the Resistance, the Maquis, and they were due to be shot by the Gestapo. And the Allies would send in these 12 mosquitoes to bomb the chateau in Amiens, so all the prisoners would escape.
I can't believe that they just blow the bloody doors off.
Basically, that was
the whole place with 12 bombers.
You're right. What happened was they had to go down an avenue of poplars, which was so narrow they had to fly.
The poplars?
Yeah, but exactly like that. That's what you'll have to do. There were 700 prisoners in the prison. 102 were killed by the raid to start with. 74 were wounded.
Yeah.
Then 258 escaped, of which 179 were rounded up within the next few days by the Germans again.
My girlfriend's grandfather flew one of those, and he actually goes now and visits in Germany with a Luftwaffe pilot whose plane he shot down during the war. And they go and they sit around and, you know, go, ha, great days. But neither of them speak the other language. Like he doesn't speak German, the Luftwaffe doesn't speak English, but they sit there and...
Sit back and...
Yeah. The temptation, if you're standing behind there...
And for over 50 years, that German man has been peeing in your granddad's tea.
We had an Airfix model of one of those. I gave it to my dad for his birthday, and he made it before breakfast.
You put the transfers on.
Yeah, painted it and everything.
Yeah. That was a pain because you had to put them in hot water and wait for them to slip off. And then, of course, with chubby 6-year-old fingers, you just end up covered in swastikas. It's not a good look. You go to school and they think you're in the BNP, and it's no, I've been trying to make a hind call, sir.
What's this guy on about? That was a 1972, rather before its time, piece of rap by an incredibly famous Italian called Adriano Celentano, who is not known here. He had a huge hit with this, which is called Prisen Collinen Sinai Chuzo. You can see it written up, and that'll help you.
Oh, wow.
Prisen Collinen Sinai Chuzo, in the Colmen Seuvan, Prisen Collinen Sinai Chuzo, all right.
Which is Italian for Gangnam Style.
Yeah. What it is just babble.
Yeah,
it's babble that is supposed to sound like English. To an Italian, it sounds more or less like English sounds.
There's that famous clip of the person on Malaysia's Got Talent where they're singing Mariah Carey, Can't Live Without You, which is possibly the greatest song ever recorded. But she's heard it clearly through Second Party and doesn't know what the lyrics are, so she bursts into the chorus and she just goes, Kenli booty bootachu. This is about a guy called Ken Lee.
Anyway, that was a huge hit in 1972. #1 in Italy, and it was in the top 10 in France and in Belgium and the Netherlands. It's babble that is supposed to sound like English. But in 2011, London-based filmmakers Brian and Carl produced a wonderful film called Squirrel, which used a similar technique. The dialogue is actually gibberish, but sounds like English. It's had over 7 million viewers, and we can actually show you a bit of it here. Run VT.
It's fine for me to display the Joe drink all around the mass-portation town while I, for mass the Pope for Green, and... What for why I chose Farine and all? What for why I bleed the whole chase Patrine? You wanna get for what?
That wasn't gibberish, but we got them here tonight. Brian and Carl, thank you very much. One of the hardest things to do in the world is to talk gibberish without it becoming... Did you actually learn your gibberish?
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you imagine that there was sense behind it? He thinks she's forgotten his birthday. Is that what...
That's one interpretation. I'm not an actor, but Fiona, who's in the film, is an actress, and so she needed to know what this was about. She needed the intentions, but I think it was important to kind of have a sort of a sense behind what we were saying.
It was a lot like what you were talking about with the Mariah Carey, Ken Lee and stuff. We sort of had the sentences and then kind of garbled them and kind of wrote down the garble as it came out.
I understood more words in that clip, though, than I did in 5 series of The Wire.
And are you Australian, Bo?
Yeah, I'm Australian, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Because we have a similar thing that we do where we don't use words...
Do you think I haven't noticed?
Yeah, exactly.
You have another thing you do, which just sounds as if you've got heartburn.
That's how they get the actors on Home and Away to do an emotional scene. They just give them heartburn. Oh, Stephen, the cafe's burnt down again. Australians will make enough noises that could be a sentence, but there are no actual words in it. It's just... I'll try. So, Carl, you having a good night? You all right?
Yeah, it's all right, man.
You enjoying your time with your eye?
I was all right, man. I'm about...
Also, I have a similar thing that I can do with posh people. This gentleman in the front row here, with the blue trousers.
There you go. Anyway, sorry, that's wonderful, Brian and Carl. Thank you very much indeed. Very welcome. And be honest, have you ever enjoyed a shower in chocolate sauce?
Is this a euphemism?
It emphatically is not. And everybody's to put away those thoughts.
No, I've put my hand in the chocolate fountain.
Oh. We are almost certain you have enjoyed a shower in chocolate sauce.
Oh.
Oh, hello.
I was so drunk, Sandy.
I suspect that most of you have, not necessarily all of you.
It sounds a niche area of interest, certainly.
Well, let's think of films that have got showers in them. And
Psycho.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was a good film.
Yeah. And the shower scene is the pivotal scene.
Oh, because it's black and white.
It's black and white.
The water doesn't read on film.
The water does.
The blood. The blood.
It was a chocolate sauce.
Bosco chocolate.
Bosco's chocolate sauce was used for the blood. And actually, talking as we were earlier of editing, one of the reasons it is the most famous scene possibly that Hitchcock directed, and one of the most famous scenes in all cinema, is that it contains 77 different camera angles and 50 cuts and lasts only 3 minutes. And I've done this. I've sat there counting the number of cuts in 3 minutes.
Wow, you must get out, Stephen, really.
Because films are...
Sitting next to you at the cinema. Like...
No, not at the cinema.
Who's got Rain Man with him?
50 cuts there! Stop the clock.
When I was a kid in the States, we used to have ice cream with Bosco chocolate sauce on it. And you couldn't serve it without going, It was the
oh,
sort
so
of
you all
noise.
knew? Yeah,
so it was
that's right. Have you seen Psycho?
I have not, no.
You see, your generation, you just don't go for the classics. Because it's black and white, you go...
I'm waiting for it to come out on Twitter, and then I'll...
Exactly.
The sound of the stabbing, I think, was a knife in a melon.
Absolutely right. And actually, Hitchcock first wanted the scene to be just, as they say, effects. In other words, the sound of the water, the sound of the shower curtain being torn, and the sound of the knife going into the cassava melon. But his favourite composer, who composed a lot of his films, Bernard Herrmann, wrote this astounding score with these jagged things and begged him to listen to the version with it. And Hitchcock said, "You're right," and actually doubled his pay on the movie.
Hitchcock sounds like Jeremy from Top Gear.
Sounds exactly like that. You're right. You're right. Yes. Just 2 seconds in and you're nursing a semi. Everybody was against him making the film. He'd just made North by Northwest, one of his most lavish, colourful, beautiful, extraordinary thrillers, and he wanted to be known for a different kind of film because he was always experimenting, always trying different things.
That film is so clever, Psycho, because you're with Janet Leigh all the way from the beginning. She hatches this plan, she's got this money, she's on the run.
Steals 40 grand.
You can't wait to see what's going to happen. And then she's gone halfway through the film.
Oh, thanks for spoiling it.
Thank you. I don't feel I have, really.
No, we didn't.
Given the picture of her being murdered in the shower.
Do you remember the last shot of the shower scene? Just to get really nerdy.
What is it? Isn't it the eye and the...
That's right. Her head's sideways down. It's all the shots are... There's no long shots. It's all mid-shots and mostly close-ups. And he was so concerned to get it right that there just wasn't time for her to get accustomed to these contact lenses that would give her dilated pupils, which freshly stabbed people have, apparently. And so that was the one inaccuracy he was rather annoyed with. But no one wanted to make the film. Paramount said, no, they wouldn't make it. He said, all right, then I'll make it in black and white to be cheaper. And they said, no. He said, well, I'll use my TV crew. He used a TV crew to make it, not a film crew. And one of the most successful movies of all time. It was nominated for Best Picture, Oscar, you know, and...
It's
marvellous.
worth seeing, Trevor, but not with Stephen.
No.
Sorry. Danny will take you.
Yeah, I should
Do you know, this evening has changed my life.
What is Australia's deadliest creature, in fact?
Oh,
Yeah.
Rupert Murdoch.
After Rupert Murdoch.
So sorry about
After
the
Rupert
fact he
Murdoch.
came here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
excluding a member of the human race, which I'm not sure whether that does or not, but anyway...
Is it the spiders, the funnel web, the red
It's going to be something on the road, isn't it?
It's the box jellyfish.
No, it's not. That is a nasty creature.
Is it rabbits? Is it rabbits running in front of utes or some sort of...
You're certainly right that most of the deaths caused by animals in Australia are caused on the road, but the animal that is most responsible...
Crocodile?
Is it man? The most deadly of all.
No.
I was not born there.
It's not a bit of cat, though. In the year under the sample year we're taking, one human being in Australia was killed by a cat that year. But 128...
A cunning plan executed skillfully and quietly.
It's the road. The road's involved.
Often the road.
Are the people in the car at the time?
Sometimes, yes, but sometimes they're on the animal involved.
They're on the horse.
It's a horse, yes. A horse. More people are killed by horses than... It's a very angry horse there.
That one needs a dental hygiene appointment ASAP.
It seriously does. Yeah, because they fall off and break their neck, or indeed they cause car crashes and so on. And horses kill 3 times more than the ones you've mentioned.
When we lived in Australia, my wife bought a horse, and she's desperate to try and get me to ride, right? So she said, I bought this horse, it's really docile, you'll be fine. So I got... Well, no, there was actually... The problem was it was too docile. What happened was it ended up being studied by Melbourne University because it was one of the few horses that was... medically got narcolepsy. So I swear to God, it's one of the rare cases of a narcoleptic horse. So she buys this horse, and she said she couldn't work out why every time when she was grooming it, it would get heavier. Like that. And so she couldn't groom it because it would fall on her. So she says to me, "It's fine. The horse is narcoleptic. Get on it." And so I got on it in full motorbike gear because I wasn't taking any chances. I sat on this horse and it started to just... And you know, normally you kick a horse to make it go. This one, he kicked it and it would go, what? Hey? Like that. To make it up. And sometimes it would fall asleep against the electric fence. So it would go like that. Hey! Hey! It's like Jack Douglas from the Carry On.
Oh, well, that's my kind of horse, frankly. Yeah. But it is the horse, anyway, that turns out to be the deadliest animal. In what way is Iceland's most recent volcano similar to Genghis Khan?
I think they're both shagnasties. Genghis Khan apparently has shagged everything that moves, and that he is the father and mother of all populations in Europe and Asia, so he shagged everything that moves. And the volcano, of course, has spurted out, had an orgasm of ammonia, and has fertilised Europe. Good answer.
I have to be brutally honest and say that's not what's on my card.
Oh, shit!
If there was no such thing as science, you'd be right. I think I know what it is.
Yes, go on.
I think, obviously, that volcano stopped lots of transport going on.
Yes.
He must have stopped something happening, which the volcano stopped happening.
You're in this right here. The odd thing is it's both very beneficial, especially at the moment. It's a thing we talk about a lot. Now, that volcano poured out, they reckon, between 150,000 and 300,000 tons of carbon dioxide. So there's a huge amount of carbon came out as a result of it. But, if you remember, no one flew for however long it was, and the lack of flying saved 3 million tons. So, in fact, it was a huge offset of carbon. And in the case of Genghis Khan, he slaughtered his way across the world and had the largest empire the world has ever seen. 4 times bigger than that of Alexander, twice the size of the Roman Empire. And he killed about 40 million people. And the result was there was so little farming that the forests grew back. And you can time a huge benefit to the world from his slaughter. But that's rather extraordinary, isn't it?
So what do we have to pronounce?
Now, yes, that's what I was... How did you know that I was going to ask that as a supplementary question?
I thought you already did.
Oh, did I already say it?
Oh, that or I read it off the
you read it off the audio? You great big cheater!
There.
I would now like you to pronounce the name of the volcano, and it's written up there for you.
Oh, God alive. You're prawn rings.
You should have been a newsreader.
With your accent, you've got the best chance.
It looks a bit like that, yeah? Any thoughts?
Jaff Yali Jokro. Yeah.
Brian,
I think...
An unfriendly woman just got
You may have set it off again by doing that.
Yeah. I think the umlaut changes it, doesn't it? Those two little dots.
The two dots.
Yeah, and I think actually the way you're supposed to pronounce it is Hutch.
If only.
It changes it.
Apparently, it's Ea Fayat Leiokodl.
And is that translated big smoky bastard?
Yes.
You will go by ferry.
Basically, why are there so many lavatories in the Pentagon?
One each.
One each. Do you know how many people work in the Pentagon?
Thousands.
23,000. Whoa. There aren't 23,000 lavatories, so no, I'm afraid it's a really ghastly reason. Where is it?
Virginia.
Virginia. Virginia was a southern state, and it had laws. And those laws...
racial segregation.
Segregation. It was a law that you had to have one lavatory for white people and one for black people. So there were double the number. I'm afraid it's true. It's a horrible truth. It shouldn't have happened because it was built in the 40s under the presidency of FDR, who had specifically outlawed racial segregation in federal, because he couldn't legislate for the states, but he could at least say that no federal building. And so when he arrived for his first inspection, was told that he was furious that there were all these lavatories.
Well, it's not very PC, that's true, but have you ever been for a queue in the ladies' loo?
So it's nice for you that there are so many...
Yes, in a way.
You
but
racist.
No.
No. They didn't actually go through with it. I mean, although they built them all for that reason, they were banned from using it and they were never racially...
And look at all the tennis courts they've got as well.
Well, it's vast. That centre bit alone, just to give you a sense of the scale, is 5 acres. Just the middle bit. 17.5 miles of corridor and these 284 lavatories. 6 separate zip codes. Just the Pentagon. But apparently it takes only 7 minutes to walk from one place to another.
Only one cleaner they have.
How many men have been president of the United States?
Oh, it's 46 or something?
Well, shall we ask the great man himself? Shall we ask the current president?
Is he here?
Is he here tonight? Ladies and gentlemen.
What a waste of a guest.
I think him giving up my seat. I think he sat in the audience for this one.
Here he is, the president, but which number of the United States? He's here to tell us.
I thank President Bush for his service to our nation. As well as the generosity and cooperation he has shown throughout this transition. 44 Americans have now taken the presidential oath.
He's wrong. He made a mistake.
He's only been on once and he's wrong already.
He is currently known as the 44th, just as Bush was known as the 43rd, but they aren't. Bush was the 42nd and he's the 43rd.
Oh.
Do you know why this is?
One of them was invisible.
Was there someone who was president for a bit and then stopped being president? Someone else was president and came back?
There was one non-consecutive president,
Right.
who was the 22nd and the 24th.
Why did they count him as two? That doesn't make any sense. Yet they count Clinton as one.
Yeah, because his terms are consecutive. This one was the 22nd, then Benjamin Harrison was president, and then he was the 24th. This was Grover Cleveland.
I think if I was doing that, if I was setting that system up, I would have gone for the number of different men. Right?
Yes.
I would say, you know, that you get a new number if you're a different man.
Person, exactly.
Not if there was a gap.
No, I know, but there's only ever been one gap, and for some reason they didn't do that. So when he took his second oath, he was called the 24th president, although he was the same man who'd been the 22nd.
Well, he was actually Stalin.
He was, he does look a bit like
Yeah. So not only did he rule Russia, kill millions of people, he was 2 presidents of the United States.
It's a weird system,
That's
isn't it?
a CV.
It's quite a bombshell.
Now we know what he was doing in between presidents.
Yeah, exactly. Barack Obama is, in fact, the 43rd person to become president of the United States because Grover Cleveland held the position twice with a 4-year break in between, making him the 22nd and the 24th president of the United States.
How many real friends do you have?
Just one, James Taylor.
What a friend you have in him, yeah.
I've
Moving
got to
on.
4.
4 friends you've counted, have you?
Well, actually, I'm not sure about him. Because he once spiked my drinks and stole my trousers when I was...
No, you definitely cross him out.
He's coming off the list, yeah.
Which did he do first?
Drinks first, Phil.
I don't know, maybe he's agile.
Good friend. You say that a friend will help you
A friend will come over to your house and help you move, and a good friend will help you move a body.
That's good.
I have 2 good friends.
Oh, Rich! Oh, that's disturbing. There is this thing called a Dunbar number. Does that mean anything
Yeah, it's
to you?
about 100 and something.
You're right. There was a
120
professor
or
of
something.
evolutionary anthropology at Oxford University called Dunbar who calculated, if the calculation is the right word, that we can't have more than 150 friends. And obviously, some of us have a very high doctrine of friends.
150?
Yeah. He defines it this way.
I don't even know 150 people.
It's a network. It's a network.
I was going to say 5.
Right, well, I know what you mean. But he defines this friendly network as containing the people you wouldn't feel embarrassed to join at the bar in the transit lounge of Hong Kong Airport at 3 a.m.
Oh, no, thousands of them.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been embarrassed to join anyone at a bar in my life.
Yeah. It's a peculiar definition.
That is, yeah.
It's an odd one. But on the other hand,
there's something about this particular transit lounge.
I don't know. But 150 does turn out to be quite a special number amongst peoples and groups. It's the average size of traditional hunter-gatherer communities, small religious groups such as the Amish, and the average English village size at the time of the Doomsday Book. It also occurs all over the modern world. It's the number of Christmas cards the average person sends, apparently. 130? 150. The size of a company in all modern armies is 150, as opposed to battalion or platoon. And it's also close to the average number of friends people have on Facebook, which is 130-odd. So it is strangely... It seems to be the number beyond which it's too many, and any less than that is a closer friend. But it's also... When we say friend, we mean someone... As you say,
We
someone
like.
who'll bury a body for you. Yeah. Facebook. Are you all on Facebook? No?
I don't
Not? You
don't
are?
really go on the computer.
I read a prediction the other day that said that at the current rate, in 10 years' time, 1 in 3 marriages in America will be people who met online. It's already 1 in 8. It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, God.
Is that bad?
Well, you just fill out a lot of forms, don't you? Here's everything I like.
Oh, no,
Meet
they
someone
don't necessarily meet on dating sites. Well,
Oh.
some of them will be, I agree. But
How else do you meet if you're not on a dating site, though?
Join a group.
You join a group.
Yeah, join a
Chat.
Facebook group with like-minded people.
Oh, right.
They send you witty remarks.
And which are the most
eventually, you send them a photograph of your genitals.
Yes. You know... Whoa. Well, Alan, that's the most popular so far, the genitals.
The genitals.
Of the genitals.
So it's just like a normal courtship, then, but
yeah,
done digitally.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel quite bad, you know, for the Amish in this situation because, you know, they're not going to meet people on Facebook, are they? Unless we create an Amish Facebook where you just write everything you know about yourself on a sheet of paper and put it in a barrel in the middle of the village. People can just dip in and out of, you know.
It's true, because they don't have electricity.
Raised the barn today, lol.
In the Middle Ages, what shape did people think the world was?
Flat.
I know we all think they did, but there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever. They all thought it was round. They all wrote about it as round. The Greeks knew that it was round.
Round and flat?
No, they thought it was a sphere. Terry Jones, the Python, who is something of a medievalist, as you may know, he blames Washington Irving, the American writer, for one of those being who started this lie, as he puts it. The Greeks knew it was round, he says. Chaucer knew it was round. Roger Bacon wrote about the curvature of the Earth in the 13th century. So, apparently...
Well, I think the majority of people didn't really care.
No, but they started.
As indeed, we don't now actually care that it's round. If it was square, it wouldn't bother me. I'd rush to the edge. In fact, I'd want to go right to the corner.
You'd sit on the corner.
How do we know it's round?
Yeah, huh?
Round the world tickets.
One is photographing. Photographing it was a very big help. We took a photograph and we saw that it was round.
Yes, but then you could say that about anything, about people going to the moon, and we know they didn't.
If it weren't round, all the flights of aeroplanes, if it weren't round, we just nothing that we...
How do we know they just don't fly, just circle round for a bit and let you think that you're going miles and miles and miles and just come down, like, you know, a couple of hours away, and they've set Russia up a lot nearer than it is?
It's a really, 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 really long oblong shape.
On a track, like an electric bike, and they just move it.
Whizzing
the
around.
plane goes up, the plane doesn't move. They move the country in front of it.
Are all the stars round?
I can't answer that. I think probably most.
But yet you know what people thought 500 years ago.
Can I read books? Yes. Have I visited every star in the universe? No. Is that something that you find difficult to understand? You set me off. You've set Sir off again.
Don't you think that this series has reached the point, with a dedicated following who trust us, that this would be the point where you could say just one thing in a show? You could say, just like this, the world isn't round. It's been proven. Most people will now believe it who watch this show.
Well, I can say with some confidence, ladies and gentlemen, the world is not round. It is an oblate spheroid.
No, that's not what I meant.
No, I'm sorry. I was being literalist.
Pine cone. If you'd said the world is shaped like a pine cone. Just to see how many letters we get.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, wouldn't it? Get some at last, anyway. Apart from the... well, you know who you are, don't you? And I tried it, and it was a disaster. Yes, no, since the 4th century BC, almost no one in the history of the world has believed that the Earth is flat. It's a common misconception, and indeed the song lyric, they all laughed at Christopher Columbus when he said the world was round. But he didn't think that the world was round. He thought it was actually pear-shaped. I've got my hands on the American nuclear trigger. Without putting yourselves to too much effort, see if you can tell me what the code is.
Secret trigger code.
The secret trigger code given to every American president between the years of 1960 and 1977.
I think that if you've got to remember it under pressure,
Yes.
and it would be a pressure situation,
Surely.
beginning the end of the world, it's got to be something quite simple.
It's 00000000. That literally was the code. 4 zeros twice, 8
8
zeros.
8 0.
8 zeros. That was the password.
Is that because you're just about... It's the end of the world, and you're going to go, oh. Did the president, when he's testing this, did he do the chip and pin, you know, that little dance you do when is the shopkeeper just looking at you and you kind of go...
Or pretend to press.
Or you do a bug, because I just do a cover.
No, because you've not noticed polite shopkeepers now do this, which is what they call the penny chews. We just go like that and they do
I think it's pretend to do other numbers than the ones they're doing. Yeah.
So
you're there with the lovely Debbie McGee going...
Do your number, but while you're doing your number, you say a different number slightly under your breath, so you look like a bit of an idiot.
Well, that's like rubbing your tummy and patting your head.
Like
Yes, that is clever.
His number's 457.
But because the people I always most hated at school were those who, when they were writing in a test, did that.
Yeah.
As if one cared about what
That's
dribble they wrote.
because you're not an idiot.
Oh, no. It's just such a creepy way of behaving. So I always just do like that, grandly make sure that my number is...
I published mine in The Sun once. It went quite badly wrong.
That was very funny.
I couldn't understand it because they were complaining that everybody's bank details had been left on a train by a civil servant or somebody, and I thought, well, it doesn't make any difference because all they can do is make a deposit. So I published my number, and there you go, there's my bank account number. What are you going to do with that? And the Diabetic Society helped themselves to 500 quid.
Well, what do you call an Irishman with no nipples? That's Richard Harris, of course.
In A Man Called Horse.
Man Called Horse.
It's a great movie, isn't it? It seemed extreme when I first saw that, but now there's guys in Camden Town that have that done.
Yes. Yeah, that'd be an Edinburgh show now, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Part of the festival.
He deserved 10 times worse than that for writing MacArthur Park.
Oh, yes. Cake left out in the rain.
Yeah, someone left the cake in the rain. Who cares?
My nan left the cake out in the rain. It would have absorbed all the rain. She made a very dry cake.
He didn't actually write, to be fair, to Richard Harris. It was written by Judy Webb, but he did sing it, and he's guilty of that. But this question isn't about Richard Harris. This is about Irishmen with no nipples. It seems bizarre, but there is a real historical point of interest here. What could an Irishman never be if he had no nipples?
Symmetric.
We're going back to the past. Symmetric. We're going back into the past in Ireland. It's a very peculiar thing, but part of your way of showing loyalty to your sovereign, if you were an Irish subject in the ancient days of the Irish kings, was you had to suck their nipples.
Right? So, and you may say, well, OK, but what kind of person doesn't have nipples? There would be fights, contests, and people would apply, as it were, to be King of Ireland. And if they were found not suitable, they would have their nipples cut off, which meant they could never be King of Ireland.
Sorry, they did it like Britain's Got Talent.
Basically, yes.
This is how Britain's Got Talent should just tweak it so that it's the same.
It would be quite something. But there was Old Crochan Man, which was one of the peat bog discoveries, and he was so well preserved that when he was discovered, it wasn't archaeologists or museums or anthropologists who got in touch with it, it was the police. But in fact, it was from between 300-odd to 100-odd BC that this person had died.
The chances of getting...
well preserved.
You would describe it as a cold case.
No, you would.
The chances of getting a conviction...
But he was so well preserved, people said, oh, my God, you know, here's this recently killed body. But he was found with nipples pinched and cut off. So he appears to have been someone who basically was deprived ritually of his attribute of kingship before being killed. So there you are. That seems to be the case. But there are extra points if you can tell me the national colour of Ireland.
Well, this feels like a trap.
It does indeed. That's the flag, but that's not necessarily an indication of what the national colour is.
Blue. National colour?
Blue is the right answer.
Get in.
Very good. Well done. Yeah. The fact is, of course, it's changed. Now everybody thinks it's green, and green is where one paints themselves green in Chicago and New York for St. Patrick's Day. But St. Patrick's colour was blue, and it was known as St. Patrick's Blue. The coat of arms of Ireland, you may see, is a shield of a harp against a ground of St. Patrick's Blue. And the Irish Guards are distinct because of the blue in their bearskins. So blue was always really the colour of Ireland until really... It was in 1798 when they had one of their many rebellions, and green then became a symbol of Irish nationalism and sort of took over from blue. Sucking a king's nipples was a gesture of submission in ancient Ireland, so if you lost yours, you couldn't be king. Where would you put your ladder if you wanted to get into space?
On top of the spaceship, on a rack. A red flag hanging off of it so some other spaceships don't follow you too closely.
It's a conceptual question. How about this? Up against a wall of silence.
You should have railings built round you, and people would come and worship you as a kind of modern Buddha. You've got the look, I have to say.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a good look.
Thank you very much.
Good Buddha look.
Rural Buddhas.
Yeah.
So there, right? Wisdom and cheat cider.
You're saying where you put the ladder, you'd assume, I suppose, the obvious answer is you'd put it on the highest point, like Everest.
Yes, that wouldn't...
It'd be a bit bumpy, wouldn't it? You couldn't get a good foothold on it.
It's sometimes called a space ladder. It's more commonly called a space elevator. It is a genuine idea that has been worked on, and many people believe would have saved the space program an enormous amount of money in various ways, was to build a huge elevator that goes from Earth and is counterweighted at the other end and spin round incredibly fast. But it would be an equivalent of geostationary orbit at the end of it, and you would have elevators on it that would go up and down.
With a phone that didn't work in it. I'm stuck on the... I'm about 87,000 miles.
There's some kind of
on Venus.
There's some kind of a door in the roof.
It was Arthur C. Clarke who particularly believed in this thing, but NASA spent a lot of money on it. But the important point is you would have to do it on the equator, where the Earth goes at its fastest. Because it's the bit, you know, like the end of a record goes faster than the middle, obviously.
What about a series of trampolines? They have a huge trampoline, and then up higher up is another one about half a mile up, and then another one. So it's like a staircase of trampolines going up into space, and then there's a big bouncy castle at the top. And a bloke charging you £1, and you've got to take your shoes off. I'd tell you the best way to get into space. I would tell you, I've just realised it, and it's brilliant. It's just brilliant. I'm going to be so rich. Bubble. A bubble. Get in a bubble, just float up there.
One day.
I mean, a big bubble. I'm not talking about... Not talking about those bubbles you see and think, that's not a bubble. Stupid little one. You call that a bubble, mate? You want to come and see my bubble? No. A big bubble, you get in the bubble and off you go.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Who wants in?
Me.
This is like the Dragon's Den for cranky ideas.
How about this? You could just imagine.
Oh, Bill. Huh? Bill, that's so beautiful.
It's the wisdom of the rural Buddha.
The Dalai Farmer.
Very good.
Excellent.
I've been struggling with that for about 5 minutes. Got to be something in this.
Oh, your synapses are firing beautifully. Use your synapses to fire people into space.
Who is the coolest, grooviest, hippest cat on the show tonight?
David Tennant, I would have thought.
Yeah.
I'm going for Belton.
Yeah, could be. What do we know about these words?
They're jazz words.
Ah,
Jazz.
many of them are jazz words. And how old are they?
Since the 20s, 30s?
Early...
40s?
No, earlier. Stone Age.
Let's take the word cool. When did it first mean, like, fashionable, do you think?
60s beatnik poet era.
Hitler.
Oddly enough, it was the year Hitler came to power, 1933, but I don't think that's quite relevant.
These new uniforms are cool.
Bizarrely.
So this is Christmas.
I'm Jerry's in Nazi Party. They're cool, Daddy-o.
Cool, Daddy-o.
Bizarrely, it was 1933.
And besides, I have no choice.
Yeah.
I burned down the Reichstag. Cool. Jazz Nazis, eh?
It was the West Coast School of... But it was the West
Jazz
Coast...
Nazis are used both ways.
It was the West Coast School of Relaxed Jazz led by Miles Davis, and his album The Birth of the Cool was 1957, which, oddly enough, is the year I was born.
Extraordinary.
So maybe I am cool.
Cool.
I love that if you saying all that as a chat-up line in a nightclub. Yeah. Do you know who the coolest person in the room is tonight? No, let me explain. 1933. Cut to 2 hours later, and that, madam, is why I am cool. Can I get to another move?
Where's she gone?